All right. Well, welcome. We're glad to be here at the Eastview campus. The A students are arriving now, front row. So glad to be here with you today. First thing I want to do is introduce to you, if you haven't already had the pleasant privilege and opportunity to meet our new provost, who has almost been with us for a year now. She came to us on December the 13th of 2021, and we've been making the rounds to campuses to introduce her to faculty, staff, and students. And so we're so glad to have Dr. Monique Humphrey with us. So please join me in welcoming her. I'm going to talk about a few things, and then I'm going to reintroduce her and tell you just a little bit about her. But first, I just want to give you a quick update and overview of some of the things that are going on at ACC. So the Eastview campus, as you know, is serving primarily health science students. And we're really proud. You know, one of the things, whether we're talking about the nursing pass rates or any of the other health science pass rates on the exams, I think we have about the highest in the country. I can tell you my peers who talk to me and find out that we have like a average of 96 to 98% pass rate, like on the NCLEX, the RN exam, they would die to have that same success rate. So first of all, I would just want to say thank you for providing the right types of services to our students to make them successful in achieving their dreams. Home to the new Amplify Center, and then this is the home of the African American Cultural Center, which we opened up, now I guess 5-6 years ago, did the renovation. And ACC Children Lab School. So when we're looking at what needs to be done, you know, back in 2014, we went to the voters with a GO bond election and passed about $386 million in GO bonds. We have finalized the utilization of all of those bonds. The last project to be completed was the renovation of the building, the main campus building at the Rio Grande campus, which was built in 1916 and really hadn't been renovated to any sizable extent since then. So it is really, if you haven't had the chance to go by and look at the new main building and the renovation there, it's incredible. So 2014 bonds, we did some new campuses, we did a lot of renovation, we did some new buildings on different campuses. Then something that we haven't done before is we had M&O bonds, maintenance and operation bonds, and we just sold those last spring. And that's really you can't build new construction with those bonds, but what you do is you use those to renovate existing buildings and facilities. So some of that money has been designated for Eastview campus. It hasn't been utilized yet, but we're in the design and we'll be in the construction process fairly shortly. And then, as most of you know, we went back to the voters in this past November and asked them to support us with some additional bonds for additional buildings, repairs, maintenance, and also opening up some new campuses for ACC. And so the voters passed that. 70% pass rate on that, $770 million. So thank you for making that happen. And I think, you know, the voting public really values ACC. And I think that shows up in the numbers. 70% is almost unheard of to pass GO bonds of that magnitude. Back in 2014, when we went to the voters, it was closer to 57-58%, I think it was, approval rate. To go from that to 70% means the community really respects and appreciates what you are doing for them, for our students, for our community. So I want to say thank you first for making that happen. This is kind of the split. As you know, we have so many campuses that we almost have to look at it by a regional basis. The size of our service area is the size of the state of Connecticut. And so we have 11 campuses today. In the near future, we'll have 13 campuses because we have 2 land bank properties for the future. So in the north region of the $770 million, $200 million will go into that. And that includes the areas such as Round Rock and Leander, the San Gabriel campus. And then the central region will have $180 million dedicated to that. And that Eastview is in the central region. And then the south region, which we have not put money in the past that we should have as that part of our service area continues to grow significantly. $390 million will go in that. And part of that is 2 new campuses. One is one by the airport, which is the Southeast Travis property that we purchased out of the 2014 bond issue. So that will be primarily a career and technical education campus. So for programs like advanced manufacturing and welding, auto trades, building construction management, those are going to be primarily what's going to be located on that campus. Then the Pinnacle campus, which turned into a land bank when we closed that building a few years ago, then we will reopen that campus, not in that building, but build a new campus on that site. So that is where the $770 million will be going. And it takes from time of passage of a bond to completion of projects, you're talking anywhere between 5 to 7 years. So it'll take us a while to get through all of that. So these are the things that we spend, like the M&O bonds and some of the GO bonds, is renovations of existing properties, but it also includes life and safety and taking a look at what are the needs in the existing facilities, infrastructure upgrades, such as the changing of technologies. And Monique's going to talk a little bit about high flex in a while and how we deliver instruction a little bit differently. And then accessibility and building code upgrades to our facilities, including the Eastview campus. Now these are what we have started doing about 2 years ago is, we have a strategic plan that is the umbrella for the institution. Underneath that, over the past 3 years, we've developed the academic master plan. We've developed the facilities master plan that supports that. We have a technology master plan that supports that. And those are longer term. So those are more like, what do we need to do in the next 3 to 5 years? But the chancellor's priorities really look at what do we need to do this coming year in order to make sure we're making improvement and progress towards the strategic plan, the academic master plan, the facilities master plan. So we have broken it up into 6 different areas, and I'm going to have Dr. Humphrey talk about that. Before we do, I just want to hit some highlights of what's happened lately. So if you've heard of Excellencia in Education, which is a national organization that takes a look at how institutions, both community colleges and universities, how are they serving and assisting students who are Hispanic to be successful. And so we were in the inaugural cohort of what's called the Seal of Excellencia. There were, I think, Ruth, correct me if I'm wrong, 9 institutions throughout the nation that were designated as that because of our success in serving Hispanic students. That was 4 years ago. Most recently, Texas State was just awarded the Seal of Excellencia. You You don't have to be. I think there's one institution that is not a Hispanic serving institution that has been awarded the seal in the past 4 years. University of Texas was just awarded that last year. University of Texas at Austin, Texas State this year. We were redesignated this year as a Seal of Excellencia institution. And that really means a lot. I think there are only 36 institutions in total throughout the U.S. now that have been awarded that seal. So that's one. Two is about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were visited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools for our 10-year reaffirmation of accreditation. And when they left, I would have to say they were in awe of what's happening at ACC. And if you're familiar with 10-year reaffirmation visits, typically there are a number of recommendations that they give an institution, say you need to improve here, you need to improve here, you need to do better here. We got 0 recommendations. So congratulations. You know, and if you go back 5 years, we also were visited by SACS. We had a mid-10-year, so in 5 years they make sure you're making progress on your QEP, and they also take a look, are you still meeting the standards? So 5 years ago, 0 recommendations. 5 years ago, at the same time we had that visit, we had a separate team that took a look at us because, as you know, we started offering bachelor's degrees. We now offer 3 bachelor's degrees, RN to BSN. We offer the bachelor's degree of applied science in advanced manufacturing, Bachelor of Applied Science in computer software development. And all 3 of those are going well. We just submitted to our Board of Trustees last week, I guess it was, for approval of a 4th bachelor's degree, which will be in cybersecurity. That will be sent off now that the board has approved it. We'll send it to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board for their approval. Hopefully we'll be able to start that program next fall. We are authorized under legislation to offer up to 5 bachelor's degrees. We cannot exceed 5 bachelor's degrees. So we have 1 more to take a look at for the future. So those are going on. The bond issue was a major work during this past year. Whenever you get the chance to say thank you to our Board of Trustees, to our Regional Advisory Committee members, please tell them thank you. As you know, as far as advocacy for the passage of those bonds, we could not do that on any of our time because we're considered on the payroll always. Employees could, outside of working hours, advocate for those bonds. Our trustees, believe me, they were out in force advocating constantly. And so give them a thank you word when you see them for all their hard work making that happen. So let me turn it over to our provost, Dr. Monique Humphrey, but let me just tell you how happy I am that she decided to come to ACC. I had seen her at an Apple conference in San Jose a few years ago. We were at the same conference presenting, and boy, after I heard her, I thought, my goodness, that young woman is incredible. And you're going to see that. But what she brings to us is experience both in the community college world, but also in business and industry. So when she graduated from college, she worked for a couple of different industries. One is Health Corporation of America, and her background is in technology, so she really understands what the needs are through technology in the healthcare area. But also she worked for Bridgestone for a few years. And so she brings that corporate knowledge to ACC, but she also worked at Cuyahoga Community College for a number of years and did some incredible work for Cuyahoga Community College and in Cleveland, Ohio. And then after that, she went to Houston Community College, and she was a campus president at Houston Community College, and understands the needs of a campus and how it needs to be addressed in order to make equitable student services available and make that happen. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Monique Humphrey. She's going to spend some time talking about our priorities.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rhodes. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. Okay, great. So before I start, I just want to recognize a couple of people in the audience. I'll start with our newest team member. So we are very pleased to announce that we have a new role at the college, which is the head of product. And so that person is with us today. If you could stand for us, Dr. Andrea Kehoe. And please give her a warm welcome. You'll get a chance to meet her over time. Many people ask me, what does head of product mean? In industry, this is a role that's been around for a while. If you think about with Apple or Meta, those type of companies, when they develop new products, the product person has the product lens to understand how to drive innovation. So we are not a company, but we are an educational enterprise. So as we look at ACC's reputation, we're known nationally for our excellence in teaching and learning. We want to remain as a national exemplar for teaching and learning and innovation. Innovation is in our DNA here. So we want to continue to be an innovative college. And it was interesting when I shared the job description for head of product, our liaison from Apple, she was the first one to comment, I'm so excited that you have a head of product. This is the first one I've seen in higher ed. You all are ahead of the curve. And so as I've talked to our Apple partners and Cisco partners, they're like, wow, other people have asked us, will you share your job description? Because they understand how important this role is to advance innovation at the college. So as you get to know Dr. Kehoe, I'll brag on her. She brings a wealth of information in the higher ed space. She has been, and I'm really excited to say that she got her start here at ACC. She started at ACC years ago, so it's like for her to return home with us. So bringing her wealth of experience in the higher ed field to us to help us continue to drive innovation. So you will hear more from us as we have some lunch and learns and different opportunities for you to meet her. But she is your guide. Think of her as your sensei to help drive innovation here at the college. So we're really excited. So again, just continue to give her that warm hospitality that we always show here at ACC. Then I'm just building on some of the other things that Dr. Rhodes mentioned. He mentioned at the beginning when we were going over the amazing things happening here at Eastview, he talked about the nursing pass rates. I saw our nursing administrators come in, Dr. Nina Means, and the rest of the nursing team. Yes, a round of applause. If you could just stand. We don't thank you enough. Thank you for your leadership. You and your team are amazing, and I can't thank you enough for the leadership. Hey, we've got a great team, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Dr. Ruth Reinhardt, if you could stand. Ruth was instrumental, her and Dr. Willie Martinez, in our Seal of Excellencia. They led the reaffirmation process, so definitely want to give her a round of applause. Thank you for all of your work on that. That would not have been possible. You know, Dr. Rhodes and I we had the fun part. We had the opportunity to get on stage and receive the award, but that wouldn't have been possible without Dr. Martinez and Dr. Reinhardt leading all of that work. It's a huge amount of documentation. Yes, we do great work with our students, but we had to prove that we're doing the work. And they did all of the work necessary to compile our reaffirmation process. For those of you, just show of hands of who worked on our SACS 10-year reaffirmation process. If you were contacted at any time, interviewed, stand up. I want to see all of the people that had a part in that. Give yourself a round of applause. We couldn't have made it to 10 years with no recommendations without all of your work. So just as that, we're glad when it's over, we all get to breathe and That's how it was with the Seal of Excellencia. We were excited that we were received reaffirmation, but it's not possible to get there without the work and the documentation along the way. And so when we think about all of this work, I get excited when people ask me, what is my role being? Because I have a lot of people say, okay, I'm not in academia, but what is a provost? What do you do? And depending on the audience, I say that I get to have my hand in anything dealing with the student, from the instructional side to student affairs. And it's my job to ensure that we're all aligned and cohesive and working together to make sure that the experience for the student is amazing. And so it's also my job to stay awake at night saying, are we doing enough? Are we thinking ahead? Are we being proactive? I would consider myself an educational futurist. So if you're familiar with futurists, like we had Gerd Linhart here for convocation and General Assembly, he's talking about general trends as a futurist. My job is to look at higher ed and look at it from a futurist standpoint and say, what are things, how do you differentiate between data points and trends? What's important, what's really coming, and what are gimmicks? Somebody's talking about the newest, greatest thing, and there's always people talking about we've got a higher ed crisis, the cliff is coming. We know that higher ed is important. It's been a bedrock in America for people being able to move to the middle class. What we can say is that increasingly issues of equity are continuing to be issues that we all have to look at within higher ed. But at ACC, as we have, again, we're very proud of our reputation, our national reputation for teaching and learning. We have to continually work so that we don't ever become complacent, because complacency is our biggest enemy here. So as Dr. Rhodes mentioned, the 6 themes that we have, when we talk about our strategic plan work, he talked about the long-term vision. With his chancellor's priorities, this is our 1-year roadmap on how we will work to achieve the things that we've identified in the strategic plan. So if you think of these 6 themes, this is a way in which we make our dreams and our vision reality. We bring them to fruition. So the first one of the themes is equity. And I want to thank Professor Palmer. Okay, thank you. She shared some things with us, and hopefully we've allowed some time at the end for questions, and I want to hear from everyone directly. But we realized that for us to do this work, we listed equity because, yes, we look at things with an equity lens, but we explicitly called it out as a theme because we know that the things that we measure, more attention is paid to them. So as we continue to look at everything with an equity lens, we're continuing to hold ourselves up to our own high standards to ensure that no matter where a student walks in, if they walk through the door at a particular campus, if they're online, everyone should have an amazing Riverbad experience. And we owe that to every single student. And so from that perspective, equity is at the core. So whether we're looking at personalized learning or celebrating our differences, we want to ensure that we're creating that environment where everyone can thrive. And there's a lot in that statement. It's the physical presence, it's the emotional needs, meeting the social, emotional needs of our students, meeting the functional needs of our students. Are they coming here because they've had 10 years of work experience, but they've been bypassed for promotions and they need a credential so they can continue to have a good quality of life? Are they coming here because they haven't had a really positive educational experience thus far, but they feel like, everybody says I need a college degree, let me try college and see if I can do that? We have students that run the spectrum. You have the high achieving high school student that's in dual credit that's earning that associate's degree before they graduate. You've got people all over the spectrum, but we as a college are trying our best to meet the needs of each one of our students. And so as we look at this, equity is something that we hold ourselves responsible for, and that we collectively challenge each other so that we can ensure that we are creating the absolute best environment for each one of our students. And we'll come back to this one a little bit more. Enrollment. So from this perspective, as we think about the communities that we serve, we have a moral and fiduciary responsibility to serve every community that we're in. And so when we think about that, if there's a student that's in a particular community, regardless, of what zip code someone is born in, we always talk about the American dream and how anyone in America can make it no matter what their circumstances are. That's been the American dream, but in reality, economic inequality is a reality for many people in America. We know if you look at resources such as the Opportunity Atlas, the zip code in which you're born has a very big predetermination on your success. We know that talent and intelligence are equally distributed, but opportunity is not. So as an institution, we are one of those great equalizers to help create and bring opportunities to our communities. We have a responsibility to serve each community well. Some communities have more resources than others, but for those that don't have all of those resources, we have to be even more diligent to ensure that we are providing all of the opportunities and the resources for those students to thrive. We believe in having a strengths-based approach to our language. We don't use deficit language when we talk about our students, but that means we also have to have a strengths-based approach when we talk about our campuses, when we talk about our resources, and when we talk about how we support each other and show up for each other. So one of the things that we're doing in this is we want to ensure that if someone says that they want to pursue higher education, we want to remove as many barriers as we can for that to happen. And so we're doing work with a consultant company called SWIM on strategic enrollment management. What this means is they'll use a lot of terms that you may not be familiar with, the enrollment funnel, making sure that as someone goes from interest to enrolled, there are different steps along that funnel, and the funnel gets smaller as you go from the number of people interested to the number of people enrolled. What we want to do is be intentional about our funnel so that we're not putting unnecessary barriers in that block people from realizing their dreams. And then when we talk about enrollment, that sense of belonging, it's the physical spaces, but it's also the emotional spaces. Do we make people feel welcome? Now, the one thing I can tell you is I'm so proud when I get an opportunity to bring in visitors, to host a tour, to show people around at any of our campuses. And, people from the outside are always quick to say, wow, this is an amazing space. And I'll always correct them. And I'm like, yes, it's a very amazing space, and we've invested a lot of taxpayer money to make this a high quality space. But that's not what makes ACC amazing. We're amazing because of our people. If you just had these great spaces and had people that didn't care about the students, you wouldn't have the outcomes that we have. ACC is amazing because we have professionals like you and like you who are dedicated to our students. Professor Palmer, I thank you for this note and this letter. When we think about what we have to do and the responsibility that we have to serve our students, we have to show up for them because we have some students who don't have anyone else who would advocate for them. If we don't advocate for them, who will? So this part of the enrollment, the theme around enrollment, it's not about numbers. Our students are not numbers. They're people with stories. They're people with families. They're people with dreams. And if you think about your life, if you're lucky, you had several people who believed in you early on. Some of us didn't. But it's our job to make sure for each student that walks through these doors that we become a community of cheerleaders for them. So with that, we're thinking about how we can be intentional about our spaces so that people feel that they're valued, and intentional about our communities and our environments so that people feel valued. Another theme is learning and retention. I've mentioned before, we're a national exemplar for teaching and learning. We want to continue to be that way. But to do that, we have to continually challenge ourselves. You'll hear me say repeatedly, we are a learning institution. What does that mean? It means that we're constantly looking and applying continuous process improvement so that we can look for better ways to do what we do. And we have a provost council that meets once a month, and one of the things that we're working on is, we're taking the things from the strategic plan to the chancellor's priority, and then how do you make that a reality so we have cohesion from what the chancellor says, here are these 6 big themes that we're working on, to what every department at the college is working on. How can we ensure that we're in alignment? So as we were in the chancellor's cabinet, one of the things that we talked about is, what is our North Star? What is the thing that drives us? What are we all working towards? One of the things, there were 2 things that we said were very important. One is improving upward economic mobility. How can we ensure that we're a place that people can come in and we will help connect them with their purpose? When you think about what a person's purpose is, what were they uniquely put on this earth to do? Each one of us has a different purpose. If I were like you and you were like me, yes, you might say it would be easier to understand me, but one of us is duplicative and unnecessary. We each bring something unique to the world. That's why you're here. That's why you breathe, because you have something to bring to the world. Just as you have a unique footprint, so do our students. So as they come in our doors and we work with them and you get to be in the classroom with them, you get to share space with them, it's our job to help them to see their own purpose, to recognize their own brilliance, but also to create that sense of belonging. So one, to improve upward economic mobility, and the other one is to foster innovation. We have innovation in our DNA here. We want to continue to do that. So how do we create the environment where we can foster those 2 things? That's the crux. There's a lot that falls under that, and it's different for every department. But how do we work together to ensure that everyone is doing their part and seeing their role in removing barriers for our students and creating the optimal learning spaces for our students, the optimal learning environment? So the 3 top initiatives that we're working on under the learning and retention umbrella are strategic scheduling, high flex courses, and our QEP. So when I start with strategic scheduling, if you're not familiar with that initiative, it is looking at, from a continuous process improvement lens, how do we look at how we schedule classes? If you're a student and you're interested in ACC and you go to our website, how easy is it for you to find your schedule? How easy is it for you to find classes? And let's say you want OER textbooks. Can you easily find which classes have OER books? Is that easy? We've got the scheduling experience from the student's lens, but we also have the scheduling experience from an instructional lens. As a faculty member, as a dean, as a department chair, how easy is it for you to create a schedule that takes into account the student's degree plan? As you think about every student that we have across the district, if each one of them has a degree plan that shows this is what you need to earn your associate's degree, do we have the technology? Well, I can already answer this question for you. We don't. That would allow us to take the student's degree plan across the district and say, based on every degree plan in the district, at Riverside, you need 15 sections of this, 7 sections of this, and 3 sections of this, without anyone churning away in spreadsheets. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a nerd, so I enjoy my spreadsheets, but I don't want to use that time doing that. And our department chair shouldn't have to either. So we're leveraging the technology that exists. I can tell you, scheduling is a beastie thing, but it's something that computers do well. When we think about things that computers do well, repetitive, tedious tasks, that's what we need to use technology for. So we're incorporating some of the available technology today so that we can make our scheduling more robust, more student-centric, and take some of the tedious elements off of our faculty, staff, and administrators that have to do the scheduling lift. High flex courses. This is us, again, leveraging the technology that exists already so that we can create an environment that is responsive to the needs of our students. From a pedagogy perspective, some of our early adopters for high flex were the GIS department. And so we featured them in a recent publication with the League for Innovations and how they utilized high flex in the classroom. And one of the things that was remarkable to me about our GIS team, Stephanie was one of the first people that incorporated in her classroom. What they did is they changed the pedagogy approach. Instead of approaching this as an online class or as a face-to-face class with some technology, they designed the whole class as an online class that happened to have people in person. And so from that, if you change your lens and how you think about HighFlex, so the objective of the HighFlex class is to have a world-class experience regardless of where you were. So if you're in the class, you have a great experience. But if your child is sick and you need to stay at home with them and you need to join the class, you can still have a high quality experience. What that means is if this was a HighFlex classroom, we would have not just the projector here where you can see on the screen, we would have 3 or 4 screens throughout the room where you could see, but also cameras throughout the room so you can capture, or at least a camera that has the ability to zoom in on the different people in the classroom. And most importantly, you've got auditory connections, so microphones throughout the room. So that regardless of who's speaking, if it's me, if it's Dr. Reinhardt, if it's Dr. Means, the person that's at home can hear the different voices, and the camera will zoom in on the person speaking. So they can see your face as you're talking, and it doesn't look like the old Hollywood squares of 9 different things, and you can't see anybody, everybody's this small. But you actually see the face and the expressions of the person talking. Think about the fundamental things that we learned about communication. Communication is 75% nonverbal. 75% nonverbal. So if I say I love you, or if I say I love you, which one are you going to believe? It makes a difference. But if you can't see the face of the person talking, you're going to miss a lot of the communication. So that's one of the reasons why HighFlex is so important to us. Dr. Rhodes mentioned our GEO bond, our M&O bonds. We're using this unique opportunity that we have to invest in HighFlex technology across the district. Some of our campuses are older than others, so the infrastructure piece to make that possible takes a lot more pre-work. So again, from an equity lens, I said I'll keep coming back to equity. Equity is infused in everything that we do. From an M&O perspective, making sure that all of our campuses have the resources that we need so that everyone can have this high quality learning environment, but also leveraging the technology that exists today so that we can meet students where they are. They have busy lifestyles. When we shared the HighFlex opportunity with some of our student leaders, I remember the first time we shared it with the SGA leaders, they were like, can we do this yesterday? You know how this would have helped me last semester when my car broke down? I could have still attended classes. From a data perspective, what I can tell you with the GIS department, it allowed the students to persist. It's not saying that the student will get a better grade because they're in a HighFlex class. It's saying that because they're in a HighFlex class, they're less likely to miss. And what we know based on our data is students that have greater attendance have better outcomes, persist better, and are more likely to complete. Those are the things that are drivers and why we're doing HighFlex. And then the third element here is our QEP. For those of you that have worked with our QEP team, led by Misty Rasmussen, Missy Patterson, and Linda Smarzik, it's a way for us to look at how we increase digital fluency across the district. We used to talk about digital literacy. I've always argued that's not enough. You know how the world is changing, technology has changed, how we live, work, and play, and increasingly having digital skills is necessary for economic viability now. It used to be if you worked in construction and you lost your job, you could go and apply anywhere. I had a friend that works in construction that told me, I lost my job. I thought I would go and work at Home Depot for a little while in between jobs. He said, they asked me about my computer skills. I'm like, what does that have to do with construction? He said, but I learned to work at Home Depot. I had to be able to work the kiosk and had to be able to help customers with all this stuff. He said, and that's why he came to me. He's like, I need a crash course so I can work at Home Depot. And so it's understanding that you don't have to be a technologist, but you have to understand technology to survive in today's world. And what we know and what our QEP team did an excellent job with on their research is this is another area where equity matters. For our Black and brown people, it is even more of an urgent issue. When we talk about the digital divide, when we talk about digital skills, over 52% of African Americans professionals said that they didn't feel comfortable with their digital skills. So that would prohibit them from applying for certain jobs that had those requirements, or filter them out if they didn't demonstrate that in their application package. For our Hispanic population, 56% said that they did not have the requisite digital skills. So this is an equity issue on top of being an economic issue. So because of that, and again, the college picked this topic, digital fluency and innovation. And so one of the things that the QEP team came up with was the term tequity, looking at technology with an equity lens. And so as we're creating, with our QEP, we have 16 modules, so micro-credentials that students can pursue. Any student that's an ACC student can take these classes at no charge. So our students have the opportunity to build up their technical skills before they leave us so that they're ready for whatever career path that they choose. And they can do it with confidence. So that's something that we're really proud of in our learning and retention space. Wellness. I'm quick to say this is not about going to the gym, unless you want to go to the gym. This is about what does it mean to be healthy and whole. When we talk about a holistic practice, when we talk about having integrity. I was reading some, for my personal reading earlier this year on integrity, and it was interesting how they started with the definition of integrity. And it goes against our common practices. I know my daughters, they're 27 and 29, and my daughter was like, I've got to get better at compartmentalizing. And I said, why? And she said, everybody tells me if I'm going to do well, I've got to learn to compartmentalize. And I said, yes and no. Because when we compartmentalize, we tend to put something over here so we don't have to think about it. But when you talk about integrity, it's being whole. And if you go back, I told you I'm a nerd, to your math days, what is an integer? A whole number. If we're going to have integrity, we have to be whole. That means not compartmentalizing who we are. If I'm going to show up and be a whole person, we talk about authenticity and bringing your whole self to work. I think everybody's been a little bit skeptical because you don't need to know that I'm a Big Bang Theory fan to work with me. But I need to feel comfortable that if I show up and there's something from a moral perspective that bothers me in the workplace and I share that with you, that I don't feel that I'll be penalized for sharing who I am and the things that are important to me. If I share with you that because of something in my childhood, it bothers me when people do X to me, then when you support me, now I'm no longer just vulnerable, but by you showing support, you've shown up for me as a colleague and a work partner in a way that I feel trusted and valued. And that's more likely for us to strengthen that bond between each other. So when we talk about wellness, it's how we show up for each other. We've always talked about being a student-centered campus and being a student-ready campus. We've been talking about being a student-ready campus since 2016. I think we do that well. And yes, we can improve, I get that. But we haven't talked as much about being a human-centered place, recognizing that each one of our students is a human. And they come with different experiences, different backgrounds, but also it's not just our students, it's our employees. How do faculty, staff, and administrators show up? I had a conversation with my father earlier last year when we were in the height of the Great Resignation, and I said, Dad, and I sent him this article, and it said that 96% of the people surveyed last year were thinking about quitting their jobs. And I said, that includes some CEOs, right? This is everybody at the place is thinking about quitting. What does that mean? One thing that you'll hear often is people don't leave jobs, they leave bosses. They don't quit because they don't believe in the company. They quit because something was broken between them and their boss. And so we have to think about that, not just how do we show up for each other? How do you show up for the people that report to you? How do you show up for the people that are your peers? We talk about this a lot. Every time that I see Jess, when I walk in the room, she's got a smile. And she's got something positive to share. If I walk in and she's not smiling, we can conduct business, but something in me is going to want to, are you okay? Is everything all right? Because you're not showing up like you normally do. That's when you get to know people. You may not know everything about them, but if you know how they show up on a regular basis and they're not showing up in that way, that's what community is about. One of the great things about ACC is the tenure. This week we're going to celebrate 25, 35, 45 years of service. Some companies will never have that because people don't want to be there that long. It's an amazing testament to the culture of ACC that people want to stay here that long. But as the world continually shifts, this is not the place that it was in '73. How can we ensure that for the longevity of the institution, people want to continue to voluntarily come here? That is contingent on this, how we show up for each other. Do we have everything figured out? No. But we're saying we intentionally want to do better. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to challenge each other to think about the environments that we create. When we talk about meeting the needs of our students, their social and emotional needs, are we meeting the social and emotional needs of our coworkers? Do people feel safe? I'm not saying 3 C's here is something, it's not another poster that we put up and throw up on the walls. Anybody can put posters up. But are we walking that out? Does it feel authentic? Do people feel like they can trust you? I'm going to be honest with you. When I first came here and I heard about the 3 C's, I heard about it. But my first experience with 3 C's was people using it and weaponizing it against other people. You're not showing the 3 C's to me. You're not doing the 3 C's. And it wasn't said with love. Don't shoot the messenger. I think we need to do a better job with the 3 C's of internalizing the 3 C's. Not, one of my pastor said something a long time ago that has stuck with me. He said, we tend to want justice for other people and mercy for ourselves. When somebody else has done us wrong, they need justice. But when you mess up, give me the benefit of the doubt and understand I wasn't coming from a bad place, right? That's our human tendency. I'm saying from a 3 C's perspective, all of us have to think more about how we can exhibit those 3 C's ourselves and show up for each other. There's a lot to unpack with this one. Will we get everything absolutely right? No. But are we willing to try? Yes. Do we have a lot of work to do? Yes. Are we a great place to work? Yes. So I'm always going to come from a great place, but I'm always going to challenge us to do more. Modernization, another one of our themes. So with modernization, we're looking at how do we apply the technology that exists now to improve the way that we do things. Some of the core things here are our student information system. We are, all of you are familiar with our Workday implementation. We implemented the finance and HR modules last year. So now the next big thing on our plate is to implement the SIS module. And so we will be working towards that as an institution. That's a huge lift. You've heard, Dr. Rhodes has heard me say a million times, there isn't a bigger lift that you could do from a technology perspective as a college. A bad SIS implementation can cripple the college because it's our bread and butter. So we have to do this in a way that has fidelity and integrity so that our SIS implementation is robust and strong because it is our core. And then collaborative workflows. How do we leverage technology in a way to do the work that we do in just the most effective and efficient means possible? All of this requires us to be intentional in our work. And I talked about the 2 things with our North Star, how do we improve economic mobility, but also continue to drive innovation. Everything that we do here is a way for us to think about innovation. And I talked to our teams about this because somebody asked a good question: what is innovation? A lot of times we think of innovation as the shiny toy. We tend to confuse invention and innovation, and they're not the same thing. When someone invented the light bulb, that was a new thing. An innovation doesn't have to be absolutely new. It could be a tweak on something that already exists. But if we tweak it in a way to make it better, it's more likely to be used, more likely to be utilized and valued. So there are things that we do every day. That's why it's so important that when we talk about innovation, we're talking about it across the college. Because I can talk about strategic enrollment management and our enrollment funnel, but I'm not on the front lines in the student affairs departments working with students every day. The people on the front lines know the challenges that you face every day. The people in the classroom every day. I was an adjunct for 8 years, but I'm not working with our students in the classroom today. I keep trying to to teach a class, and my schedule is horrible. I wish that I could, because I never enjoyed anything as much as I did teaching. I'll just be honest with you. But when we think about how we approach our work every day, it's applying a critical lens, an intentional lens to what we're doing to say, is there a different way that we could do this? I talked about us being a learning institution. How do we apply what we know as best practices to improve what we do every day? That's innovation. And then the sixth theme is sustainability and effectiveness. So we just finished our QEP 10-year site visit. Dr. Rhodes had everybody. We patted ourselves on the back. That's amazing. That means we left with no recommendations. But what it also means is we continue to pour the foundation for the next 5-year visit, for the next 10-year visit. We continue to do these things, these exemplars, so that we can continue to be recognized for our excellence in teaching and learning. The work doesn't stop. It just means we don't have SACS peers here with us every day. Our legislative priorities, and continuing to work with Dr. Molly Beth Malcolm, Dr. Chris Cervini, to ensure that they represent us and working with our legislators to support policies that support our students and that allow us to create these great environments. And then the work with our GO bond. So everything in this sixth theme, we've already done the things that we wanted to do check boxes on, except for the legislative priorities. We'll continue to work on those. But these are all things that are necessary for us to keep the lights on at the college. So we said we wanted to make sure that we had time for questions and discussion and collaboration. So Dr. Rhodes and Jess, I know we have people with questions, so we want to make sure we can address those.
First of all, join me in giving her a big hand. You can now see why she is our provost. I haven't found people that have the passion for student success through an equity lens than I've seen with Dr. Humphrey. So, okay, I saw Ann's hand come up.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Just for chance, I'm talking about equity. And it's equity here at Eastview campus. I've been here since, I've been teaching for 35 years, so I'm going to that celebration. I started here when this campus opened in '99, so I have a real attachment to this campus and the students. And I'm seeing equity decrease at my campus, and it hurts me. It hurts my students. I've written a memo to them. I've given them the memo. They know what I'm going to say, but I want you to hear it and join me with this. So the first thing that's a problem about equity is that elevator over there that doesn't go up to the 3rd floor. So all of the 3rd floor is closed. The learning lab is closed. The learning lab has been sent over to building 2000. I went over there yesterday. There are no computers in the learning lab. Now, what could we do? We could get a cow. Now, what's a cow? A cow is a computer on wheels. We could have it over there. The tutors there are using their own computers. So that's not equity for the students who need help. The elevator here is not equity because students in wheelchairs can't get up to the 3rd floor. The electronic doors are not equity because they don't all work. I pull my suitcase because, or my suitcase, my
Briefcase.
what do you call it? My briefcase,
Mhm.
because it's so full of stuff I have to carry around campus. I have to open the doors. They don't all work. How is a student in a wheelchair able to get in and out if the doors don't work? So that's another problem with equity. Another problem with equity is there are no services available at night. Who wants to come here at night when there are no services? Now I know the Child Development Center is open and has care for the children, so the parents can go and help. There's no library. There are no student services. There are 13 services that are not available at night. And I'll read those to you because I want you to know how limited equity is at this campus. It doesn't have to be this way. So admissions and enrollment open remotely on Saturday if you don't have a computer. Advising is closed on Saturday and Sunday. Assessment is closed on Saturday and Sunday. Admission is open on Saturday but closed on Sunday. Career services closed on Saturday and Sunday. Counseling closed on Saturday and Sunday. Do I feel like I'm going over? I'm repeating because I am. Okay, financial aid is remote on Saturday but closed on Sunday. Learning lab closed on Saturday and Sunday. Library closed on Saturday and Sunday. Accessible services closed on Saturday and Sunday. Student advocacy center closed on Saturday and Sunday. Student life closed on Saturday and Sunday. Transfer services closed on Saturday and Sunday. We need to have this campus opened more. Now, I have a whole paper here about things that I won't go into, but one of the things we want our students to get their degrees. 60%, this is the 60 by 30. We want the students to get degrees. They can't do it if they can't get the services they need. There's a wonderful link that ACC has put on about kids wanting to go to school, wanting to get degrees, and if they can't get to school, they can't get degrees. They can't do what Texas wants us to do. So here are my requests specifically. Improve maintenance on the elevators and electronic doors, restore services that have been reduced or limited, and explain to us, like you're doing right now, why these services have been reduced. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
First of all, let me just say thank you. And thanks for putting it in writing for us, too. One of the things as a large institution with multiple campuses in a large service area, it's hard to make sure that we have the services at all, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue to work towards that end. And so I thank you for stepping forward and advocating for the students and what their needs are. I appreciate that. We'll keep working on it. One of the things that has hurt us, I don't like to give excuses, but I will tell you, during the last 2.5 years, during the pandemic, supply chain issues have really cost us a lot of problems, whether it's in technology or in, just as an example, we're moving in at the Highland campus to a different office space. That was supposed to have happened 9 months ago. But the supply chain issues, both with the contractor and with furnishings, have delayed us by 9 months. And there's still certain things that aren't open yet. And if you take a look at the Rio Grande campus, that was supposed to have been done a year before we actually opened it up. Supply chain issues got in the way. So it has caused some issues over the past 2.5 years. And I'll tell you, we're trying to catch up right now. Things like the elevator that you talked about, you know, that should not happen, but it does. Elevators do break down, and if we can't get parts, if the contractor can't get the parts, then it delays things. So, but thanks, Ann, for bringing forward your concerns, and we'll keep working on them.
I would also like to add, you know, in addition to what Dr. Rhodes has said, as we talk about how we show up for each other, one of the things that I heard very clearly when I started was I heard many people saying they felt that the work from home policies were not equitable. And so we started a task force for remote working. And one of the recommendations on there was more flexible scheduling for our staff. And for the first time, we had more robust scheduling for increased hours, and also more remote working for our student services staff. So I'm not saying that that's the reason for everything, but for some of the remote services, this was to accommodate some of our peers being able to work remotely. Now the question is, how do we, as we look forward, balance the needs for our students with more flexibility for our employees? Do I have the answer right now at this moment? No. But we'll continue to work towards that. And I'll also say we've had an acute shortage of student affairs staff. We're still down in hiring for our student affairs professionals. So as we don't have enough student affairs professionals, we're asking the people that we do have to cover more campuses, more hours. And so trying to be fair to our employees, but also meeting the needs of our students is not always an easy challenge. But we have a responsibility to make it work. So we're continuing to challenge ourselves to do better in this area. So again, I thank you for sharing these concerns. Dr. Ronhart?
So Dr. Buchanan has tasked us to explore a virtual student experience, because we know that sometimes, to be equitable, we are looking at how we can provide services holistically to students in the evenings and on weekends. But with that comes a challenge, right? Because if we take students, our employees currently who work during the week to work weekends, then we're short during the week. And so it's a big balance, but we are looking at that, Ann, because we do have advising on Saturdays that can help students, but we need the whole suite of services, like you're saying, financial aid, you know, student support, SAS, and all those services. So we are exploring that, but it's something that we are. It's a big job, and so we're really looking to see how we can make that work. Mm-hmm.
And we had a question in the front before we started the other questions or comment.
I have a loud voice. I don't have to use the microphone. It's
The people online.
Okay. I want to piggyback on what Ann said. I've actually worked at this campus since 2000. My name is Dawn Leach, and I'm the manager of the Children's Lab School. We're open at 7:30 in the morning until 9:30 at night, Monday through Thursday, and 7:30 to 5:30 on Friday. We had a campus grant from the Department of Ed for 8 years, and we just got that re-awarded, this time through the Student Advocacy Center, $4 million to support students who have children. So we're so excited about that. And we currently serve 19 student children in our day program.
Baby
and
scholars.
We have an evening care, and I saw Malia up there in one of the pictures. She was a nursing student. She graduated, and she was in our program with her daughter. And day and evening, yes. We flexed her child's time because she had clinicals at night. And we have up to 18 spaces per evening for evening care. But we don't have children because there's nothing happening on this campus at night. And we would love to remedy that. Yes, I'm sorry, we're not at 0 children. We don't have the number of children we've had in the past. And we are a licensed center, so people can drop their children off at our center and go to any campus that they can get to in Austin traffic. And I'm just gonna, I do have a question, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Leslie just add on.
Yeah, I'm the evening child care coordinator at the Children's Lab School. I've been there since 2003. And my experience, I have loved working here at night. I've always felt very safe. It's been a wonderful community. But since we've come back from the pandemic, it's a ghost town here. And that has impacted my students as far as safety concerns, whether it's people being on campus that aren't necessarily, that just people that aren't students on campus. In the past, that may not have been a concern because there was other community around. But now I've got parents of young children, mostly under 5, here at night. They study here. And I've had to call the police for my parents before because they've been approached and there hasn't been other people around. They don't have access to the learning lab. They can't make copies. There's certain things that it has impacted my families. And I encouraged many to be here, but they're very busy. They go to school at night, so they can't be here. Luckily, I do have one of my wonderful parents here. So I think my concern is we're the only campus that has evening childcare, and yet we don't have, our evening services were cut. And I feel like out of all of the campuses, we can serve families, and that impacts equity as well. So that's where we're coming from. And we have been flexible over the years. I used to not offer study nights for families. Now I offer study nights so that if they're taking classes in the day, they can do that. So we try and innovate, and we're definitely futurists. We work with the kids, we just want that community back at night.
And for our services to be used to the fullest ability, because we're right next to Jeremiah program, and so we have students who are there because they're going to school.
Right. Gotcha.
Many of them at ACC, their children have childcare during the day, but many times they're working and studying, and they need study nights to come over here, and I think you're one of them.
Pass it on. Our whole community right here.
Hey, my name's Andromeda, and I was invited by Dawn, and I do live at Jeremiah program, and Athena goes to daycare. I'm in the nursing program. I'm scheduled to graduate in December.
Woo-hoo.
I'm so excited. And I'd like to thank ACC just like for making it possible. Like, we have evening care, we have advocacy, we have tutors. Like, the nursing program is right across the street. It's affordable. I get scholarships and partnerships, and everything has poured into me. But I do like to mention that whenever Athena comes in the evening, I have to make sure I'm prepared. But sometimes I forget to print things, and the library does close at 5. And I have to stay on campus for my study night, so I can't just leave. I'm required to stay here, but I don't have access to a computer. I don't have access to a printer. And even whenever I have class, I take classes on that side, and now we're back on campus. I have to come to the library and wait until after class has started to try to print anything. So I would really like to see even just printers that I can connect through my phone and print something very quickly for my notes, or a computer, and just have more of those technologies. And I don't have a printer at home. A lot of students don't even have a computer at home. So it's important for us, especially nursing students. This is a campus for nursing students. You're getting a lot of nurses from here. There's the LVN program that I also completed, the RN program, the BSN program. We need to invest in our nurses. You know what I mean? We have a shortage in nurses, and we need to make sure they at least have access to printers and computers and able to print and be prepared for class. Also, we have long hours. We need to study a lot, and the 8 to 5 library doesn't work. It doesn't work. We need evening tutors here, because I've never really heard about evening tutors here, and just have more resources on that side of the campus where we're actually taking classes. And then also more marketing in regards to the evening care. There's no reason why we should have open spaces there. There's many parents who are students who need help and don't know that there's help available right there. Just right there, for free, if you're connected with the advocate.
I've tried to market myself for years, and people continue to get us mixed up with Highland Learning. And we've been here way longer, and it's baffling to me, because if you're taking evening classes, you can literally leave your child here and go to another campus, and you can't do that at an unlicensed center, which
Right.
is what Highland was. We're licensed, so we offer that flexibility. So
Yeah, even having more evening classes here on this campus would be really great. Because like if the childcare is right there, it makes it more accessible for parents who work at 8 to 5 Monday through Friday to take their Tuesday, Thursday class here. And it's offered here, yeah, like just.
I've had families, like I had a family who at first said no because they thought we were Highland Learning, but then ended up staying, and they really love our services and are gonna keep going. It's not the easiest drive, but it's one of those things that we have space, and we would love more families. We love the families we have, and we just wanna be able to serve our students in the way we've done for a while.
Great.
And also, just like a little cherry on top, if we can make this area more comfortable for the students to spend long hours here, that'd be great. But
Better
we'll start
chairs?
with the printer and the
Okay.
computers.
All right.
Thank you.
And just to get to our question, it is that, since we have this resource available at this campus, it seems like a primary location for there to be more happening in the evening. How can we support that in happening?
Thank you.
Well, you just did. You brought it forward. I appreciate it. While you're taking that mic, let me just talk about this student here. Andromeda Vega is a superstar. And if you ever have the chance to hear her story and talk about that, we had the chance to speak together at a United Way event about 2 or 3 weeks ago. An amazing student, just one example of the type of student who comes out of our nursing programs and through ACC. But I will tell you that she was the person who, every single person in that room, I don't think they had a dry eye when they got through listening to her story and about you and your mother and your child. And so thank you and congratulations, and you better walk graduation.
You've got plenty of cheerleaders here to support you. So what I'll say is, again, thank you for advocating, not just for yourself. You're about to graduate, but taking the time to advocate for your fellow students. The scholars all around, we need to hear these things. And so hearing from you directly has so much weight. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Advocating for parents who are also students, it's a very little special place in my heart.
Oh, absolutely. Every student that's in your program is a baby scholar, right? A future river bat. So they're baby scholars. So how do we support them as well? Thank you.
We have another question here.
All right.
Okay, I'm the Learning Lab manager at this campus. My name's Teresa Mooney. All of what we're talking about takes money. So I have a two-part question. Eastview, Riverside, and South Austin are campuses in historically underserved areas. Of the $770 million, $15 million is earmarked for here, 10 for Riverside, 5 for South Austin. How will that approximately 4% of the $770 million bond dollars help to do everything that people are asking you to do, and how does that fit with equity?
One of the things I'll say too, though, is of the M&O proceeds, most of it is dedicated to the existing campuses, so in the central area. So that we recognized and started working on last spring, making sure that we can make additional resources available without going directly to the voters. So that was the start of it. We do have some incorporated in that. When we talk about the South Service area, though, we're really talking about, it's a large area. And so when you think about around the Pinnacle area, they feel underserved. When you think about Del Valley, they feel underserved because we don't have a presence there. And so the Southeast Travis property is one of those that started in 2014 with that bond issue to actually purchase the property that we can build on to serve that greater area, which includes basically where South Campus and Riverside are. And so that's the plan of looking at how do you look at what the needs are and how the changing demographics of our population that we serve continue to change. and how do we meet the needs? And so that takes a lot of planning, and by the time you get the new campus or the new buildings built, it's about 3 to 5 years down the road. But let me just assure you, we're working on it. We're trying to address those needs through things such as the M&O bond, which was the first time that we issued those, and we'll continue to work on it. That's our pledge to you.
Another question? Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Christina Matura, and I'm the Dean for Student Affairs here. And I just want to thank you all for all the work that you're doing, and we're really glad that you all are here and listening to everybody with our needs and things. And recently we did a registration week event, and we spent a lot of time with our students and trying to listen. And I've also met with other campus leaders, and the students had some things that they wanted to share. One of them is hopefully we can remedy it with the new bond money and things, but from what I understand is we don't have enough large capacity size classrooms to offer regular classes, and so general studies type students can't build a full schedule here. And for instance, my advising supervisor said that we have a lot of high school students, and there's other students who want to take classes at Eastview, and she had to advise two recently that wanted all their courses here, but they couldn't because they're not available because we don't have the appropriate classrooms to have a broad spectrum. So mostly we have health sciences and students that work with the child lab and some adult ed and of course the high school students as well. But hopefully we could build in some bigger class sizes so we can build a whole schedule here. And then a couple of other things that the students mentioned was they would really like the doors to all work. Because sometimes, you know, they're walking and like they have bags and things, or or they have their arms full and they want to push the button and then it doesn't work. And then imagine if they weren't able to get up close and try to pull the door, like if they were in a wheelchair or something. It disturbed them. They were very hurt by the timeliness of repairing that. But we do understand, they understood that the elevator needs parts, and it's a very, very old elevator, so, and we could use the other elevator, but about the doors, they were very concerned. And then the last couple things, they wanted an open computer lab, because there's no lab that they can go to where they can print, or even to use, like Student Affairs, Ruth was saying, we have evening and weekend advising online, but there's nowhere that they can really get in and get on or even print things. And so, you know, they like that, like an accelerator, but it doesn't have to be as big, they said. But they see the things at the other campuses, and it just makes them feel bad about what we're missing at Eastview. And then the last thing are they want study rooms and study spaces. There's no private study rooms here, and especially if the library's closed, but this library doesn't have as many as some of the others. And I see them in this room studying in groups and things, but there's traffic passing by and they're trying to hash through things, so they wanted some study rooms, sticky spaces. Like there's only one area that has couches over in front of 8500. But especially our health sciences students spend 5 to 7 hours a day here, and they're sitting on the floors, they're sitting in these chairs at these desks, and there's nowhere to plug their phone in to charge it, and they're hungry, very, very hungry. Eastview likes to eat. No, just kidding. But they do, because we provided food, and it really hit home with them, and they really, really appreciated it. And they were hoping, and I think it's in the works for us to get a cafe of some sort. But I think it was a loss when we lost the bookstore where they could buy snacks and drinks and things like that, and supplies for health science type things. But so those are some things from the students and also from the staff that I work with, you know, that would really help Eastview and help Eastview at least be at the same level as the other campuses in the future.
Thank you for sharing, but my mental note, are we capturing this in writing? Because a lot of things have been said, and I don't want to be relying on my memory for all of the notes. Okay, thank you.
If I may add, we have been addressing these issues through the proper channel as well. I want you to know that we recognize we have, you know, our wonderful leaders here, but we recognize we have been working through addressing it formally, the food service and other concerns. So because you are so open and wonderful, we feel, encouraged to also share with you. But I have to say, we have been bringing these up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to recognize somebody that was standing over here. I didn't see him earlier, but Roland Hayes he is about to celebrate 50 years of service at ACC.
You take a bow.
And he still plays golf.
You take a bow for us, Mr. Hayes. Speak.
Good morning. I wasn't going to say anything, but sometimes you may stick around too long. And see, you already quoted how long I've been here. I remember when we had these problems when we first opened. And we started up on the hill there where old Anderson High School was. And I was trying to assess why we were having the problems we have. Because all of us was in one place. And whenever we had these needs, we had these kind of sessions, and everybody attended, the president, chancellor now, everybody came, and so we did what you're doing here. And we not only talked about it, but we set up timetables for how to deal with them. And here we are again, and I'm hearing some of the same things we knew when we came to this side of town. This is East Austin. For you who don't know what this means, ask somebody. But East Austin in this city is always last, always has been last. And this campus, when it was built, and you can't let on, I look at the president and I don't blame him for anything because he wasn't here. I don't think anybody here remember how we got started to the point where we had no tax base. We had no money to do anything. But it came from people like you, people who came together from the president, from the custodians up, or whatever you want to start with students. And I'm listening to these concerns that you voiced, and of course, what Ms. Palmer has said, I concur. And I want to say something, about, you can always cast blame on somebody. The point is, I think that we've never, I know the pandemic has prevented us from doing what we're doing today, but I hope this is not the last time. I don't know any board member that has been on this campus in the last 3 years. And I'm saying that I don't know if any board members here today. I'm very pleased that the chancellor saw fit to come. Some of these administrators, they don't know the students because they never taught. Just because you're an administrator doesn't mean you know the answers to some of the problems. The people who are in these classrooms, I hear these people who are working up here at night. I'm up here, I teach a class at night, purposely. And I've been locked out of coming from upstairs up there just last week, last Tuesday. I was locked out. And I can't blame anybody because I know it costs money to have people here. But we need to have some kind of a group from this campus that has the ear of these people, other than when they come at a session like this. We need to plan stuff. We need to, and so you can come back and tell other people. So Ben will know that we are supporting what he's trying to do, but there are a lot of concerns that are not voiced, and they're very serious. And I listen to the response that I hear from people who don't know what you're talking about because they're not here. If you're not here at night, you don't know what it's like to be on this campus and nobody is here. If you're not here and you can't get any food, and all you got are vending machines, when we used to have a cafeteria type of kitchen, it wasn't very much, but we had something there. And we don't see where we're going to change anything. And I know that Austin is growing, and I know Austin, the ACC needs to move further in another place. But I'll say this and then I'll be quiet. When the pandemic occurred, I went down to talk to the president. They called the police on me. I'd never been so hurt in my life. All I wanted to do was talk to him about how we were going to do classes. Now, I don't blame him for that. But I went to the door and I did all of it. I showed him my ID, and security felt like I was I had 3 policemen to come and ask me a bunch of questions. And all I wanted to do was to give what you're giving today, is just say, we have some ideas. So periodically, we need to have, through our leaders on this campus, some kind of a meeting that may not last over 45 minutes, where people can put this stuff together other than write it down, what Ann has done. And then we need to make sure it gets to the right source. And when it gets there, we need to get some kind of response back as to not just we working on it. I heard that a lot. We working on it. Some of us won't be here when you get through working on it. But it would be nice if you said we're working on it, and here's the timetable. We'll have this done. We know we'll do this by the end of this semester, about the beginning of March. But so people will have some incentive to want to continue, because this is a great benefit to this community. Austin Community College has always been an oasis in a desert where education is very prominent, but it's not available to a lot of people. And we have met, ACC has done that, and you're a part of that. All of us are a part of that. But we don't need to start feeling like we're not being listened to, and we are deserting ourselves, because if we turn on ourselves, we will cease to be that bright, shining star for people out there. So we need to get the team together better than what it is. And I'm saying this, it starts from up behind those tables. And as a result, we need to establish some kind of thing quietly that some people will be able to meet occasionally with the leadership of this college, and even with the leadership of the board, without having to go down there and be in some contentious or confrontational mode. So we can continue to make this, people need to know why this campus has lost all its appeal. And the answers that I've heard, they're not good answers for people who live in this neighborhood. And when they come, they see us, and we can't answer them. That's not good, because we used to be able, when we was up on that hill, Old Anderson High School, people lived in the projects, we could answer their needs. We may not have been able to satisfy all their needs, but they knew we listened. We need to find out if this meeting today is not in vain, and that means we need to do something, if not by the end of this semester, by early in the beginning of next semester. We need to have some kind of feedback to everybody here, so it's available to everybody here on this campus. Maybe I've stayed too long, but that's my speech.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roland. Oh.
We have seen, my name is Femi Alabajo, I'm from Round Rock. You probably see what am I doing here. I missed you in Round Rock, then they gave me this date, so I drove down to.
Thank you.
But the problem today is localized, so I have to see you maybe after this is over. But I know our provost, you gave me 20 years, 5 years ago, now I'm getting 25 years on Friday. So glad to see you here. We are computer science. I teach computer science. And if you can help us recruit for this campus, we've been trying to offer computer science classes here. We have 4 labs. I happen to be the assistant chair for this campus. And nursing people from ANI, they're all using our labs. And we have to support you and business. So we like to have, help us recruit for computer science so we can teach computer science anytime. If you can help us get 20 kids on Saturday, we're ready to teach Saturday morning, evenings, anytime. Because I told Mary Coles, I've been pushing for this campus so we can have computer classes. If we can bring more computer science in, we used to do it before. Majority of this problem came in during the pandemic. You see, we used to open on Sundays, our computer labs. So some of this came in during pandemic, and if you saw this campus 25 years ago, I'm almost sure all this problem you are saying will be resolved with time, because ACC has proven itself all over, especially in Round Rock. So the other thing which I wanted to say was I will kind of wait. It's kind of localized to Round Rock, so I don't want to bother you with it. But it's nice to see all of you coming in to see you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, one more.
One last question.
Okay.
Since we have the Eastside Early College
High school.
across the street, I'm wondering how ACC is working in collaboration with them, similarly to, say, South Austin campus and Crockett High School.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is an early college high school now, designated by TEA. And so in order to have an early college high school, it has to be a partnership between the school district and ACC. And so that's true here. Crockett is a little bit different. It's not an early college high school, but it's a PTech, Pathway to Technology. And so it's more, that one is focused more on a career pathway for students in construction management and building trades. This one is an early college high school. Early college high schools are, the real intent of those is to assist the students collaboratively. And that's one thing I want to make sure that I say too, is ACC can't do it by ourselves. It takes a lot of partners working together. And Andromeda is a good example of that, because it's not just ACC that is helping her. It is things such as United Way, it's Capital Idea, it is the Jeremiah Center. I mean, it's a lot of people coming together in this community to make our students successful. So that, I mean, that's one thing I want to say about that. But the early college high school is exactly that too. It's a partnership, and it's a collaboration between ACC and AISD to give the students who are in that high school, who have the determination and the will and the want, to get an associate degree by the time they graduate from high school, that they have that opportunity to do that there. And so we're really proud of it. We now, 11 years ago when I got here, we had no early college high schools. We now have 13. We have 13 PTechs and career academies that are specific career pathways for students to get to the workforce as quickly as possible for them. So we're making great progress, and I'm really proud of all of our faculty and staff in making these things happen. I saw Melissa was here earlier, but I think she had to leave. But Melissa has been instrumental in helping us along the way get the early college high schools up and operational, but also the PTechs and the career academies across the district. And early college high schools are really targeted towards the populations that are in low-income areas for a lot of first-generation students. And so it's, that's really where we're trying to hit the population.
Dr. Rhodes, may I add some exciting news actually about early college, high school, and our partnership? We are very fortunate. We received a HCA grant, and we have partnered with Dr. James up the hill and Dr. Harvey with Manor ISD. It is called the Future Healthcare Heroes Grant, and we are in very close, we're meeting on a regular basis with them, and the grant will cover 30 students, juniors, seniors, and we are building what will be a national, innovative, evidence-based model on how to inspire high school students to pursue health careers. So it will include a mentorship program, it will include exploration, so they will come on our campuses, we will take them on tours, and it includes a stipend, $774 for each student. Once they complete these milestones, it includes advising, and it is truly because of the partnership between, and we felt like it was a wonderful opportunity to really develop deeper connections in the community while serving the underserved population. So I just wanted to share that exciting grant that we just received.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say again, we hear deeply everything, the concerns, and to your point, Mr. Hayes, working not just on a continual basis, but we're working on action plans so that we can create some meaningful change at every location, but especially here. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time, investing the time to come out today, to make your voices known, to allow us to hear. Like I said, I can hear, I can guess, but when I hear from the people on the front lines, it has a different impact. So I appreciate you all sharing your real experiences so that we can continue to make the experiences better for everyone. So thank you.
Excuse me, I just want to say thank you also for coming. Sorry that I was late, but I just want to echo what you were saying, the learning. I haven't been here as long as Roland, but 43 years is long enough to be at ACC. And I am ACC, and I want to thank you for sharing your pathway of nursing throughout because a lot of times they forget the LVN. But in reference to being here, we've been here almost 20 years, 21 years at this campus. And it seems like we get the grunt of everything else that's going on. So we're hoping that you can revitalize Riverside, Eastview, Riverside, and everything on the east side, okay? I'm just going to make it plain. And in reference to our students that we serve, then that's who we need to, our population, that's who we need to look at. So thank you so much.
Dr. Rhodes has mentioned it, but I want to be very clear. The GO bond is about new construction. The M&O, that's about fixing what needs to be fixed right now. That's boots on the ground right now, what needs to be done now. So there's no delay on that. We're going to start, and that's why it's so important to hear. So as we're prioritizing the work, we can ensure that the most critical work is done first. So thank you.